Hi everyone, this is Serverless Camp Week 1, Step 5 by Bit Project. My name is Emily, and in this video we'll be going over how to add more complexity to your Azure functions. So in the previous video, we had a very cut and dry Azure function. All it did was return the user's input from the parameter into the body of the result. So this time we're going to be adding a little bit more code in the middle just to show you guys what you can actually do and how you can make your functions more complex. So the first thing we're going to do is run git pull origin hacker voice to get any changes that we don't have yet. All right. Now we're going to add on to the HTTP trigger in the previous issue, and we're just going to add a nice password feature that checks if the user has the correct input or password. Depending on that password, we're going to output different things. If the password is correct, if it is equal to let me in, we are going to output access granted. If it doesn't equal the correct password, we're going to output access denied. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is actually create a new variable called result. And what this variable is going to do is it's going to store the result we want to return from the function, whether it be access granted or access denied. And just for a quick review, what this code is doing here is it's getting the password, the value of the password parameter that the user inputs into our code, and we're putting it in a variable named password. So let's go ahead and check that password using if-else conditionals. So if password equals let me in. So if it does equal let me in, we're going to want to set result equal to access granted. Now what if it doesn't equal let me in? Well, we're just going to set result to equal access denied. When you're writing your code, make sure you have the exact format that we're providing you. Make sure to have a period. Make sure to have capital letters because we will be checking that using the bot. All right. The last thing we want to do is just to return result. So go ahead and return result there. Now, before we test it, let's go ahead and walk through it quickly. So the first few lines, second line is just printing it out right here. First line password is getting the value of the parameter into the variable. Next, we're going to check if the password equals let me in. If it does, then we grant access. If it doesn't, we deny access. And the last thing we do is just return the result in the body of the function. All right, let's go ahead and test that. So function start, and that's going to give us the URL that we're going to need. So let's copy that. And you can test this in Postman or the browser. I'll show you how to do both. So the first thing we're going to do, the key is going to be equal to the password because that's our the name for our parameter. I'm going to set it to a wrong value, and it should output access denied because it was the wrong password. However, if I change this value to let me in, it should return access granted. There we go. To test this in your browser, it's very simple. Just copy paste this URL with the parameter attached. Go to your favorite browser, paste that in, and it should give you the same result because this is a GET request. If it were to be a POST request, it'd be different. We can't use the browser for those things. All right. Now, one of the most important steps now is to deploy your Azure function. Right now, the code is local, which means it's not yet in the cloud, it's not yet in Azure yet. So when the bot tries to test it, it's not going to work if you didn't deploy your function because it still has your old version in Azure right now. So what you want to do now is go back to Visual Studio Code, click on the Azure extension, and if you see this little cloud right here, you're going to want to click that. Select the function app. I'm going to select the one I've been using and deploy. So now it's going to be deploying to our and if this comes up, just click deploy anyway. This is going to deploy to the long Azure function URL that we tested out last time. And I'll see you back when it finishes deploying. All right, so the deployment just completed, and I'm going to show you guys one more time. If you already know how to do this, feel free to skip, but how to access this in your Azure portal. So if you go to Bit Project 2022, this is the function app that I created and the function that I deployed to. So click on functions, you click on Hacker Voice, which is the one we just created. You can click Get Function URL, copy to clipboard, and I'm just going to show you that this also works in Postman now. So if you do that, and I'm going to add a parameter called password, call it in. So then now when you send it, it's going to say access granted. Now if you did this before we deployed, it would come out with the wrong response. It would simply return let me in, because that was a previous version that was in Azure. Okay, I think we're about ready to commit our code then. So let's go back here. Awesome. So now that we've done that, let's go back to GitHub. Good question, where's GitHub? All right, there it is. Okay, we're gonna create a pull request. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, clear pull request. I'm going to name it Finished Hacker Voice. What changes did I made? Well, I added password checking feature, did not close issues, and create that pull request. So as you can see, our changes are approved by the counselor bot. Everything looks good, and you're ready to merge. All right, so join us in the next video for a different Azure function. We're going to be creating one that interacts with the CAT API. So we're going to teach you guys how to call APIs from your Azure function to add even more features and complexity. All right, see you in the next video.